Another way to understand nothingness is to look at the ritual of the red heifer. According to the book of Numbers, the ashes of a red cow mixed with water purifies a person contaminated by contact with the dead. Jewish law considers exposure to death or the loss of potential life as the highest degree of impurity. In the Torah, there is a category of commands called ordinances or kokim that defy logic or comprehension. The red heifer ritual is thought to be the most incomprehensible ordinance. One reason is that the one who is sprinkled with the red cow's ashes is rendered pure, whereas the one who sprinkles it becomes impure, a concept that baffled even the wise King Solomon. Rashi, a well-known Jewish sage, expounds on its irrationality by saying that Satan and the nations of the world mock Israel over this ordinance because of its strangeness and inconsistencies. Nevertheless, Israel was able to perform this command 9 times. It is even said that the appearance of the 10th red cow is connected to the messianic redemption. Without going into all the details of this commandment, I'm going to try to show you how the red heifer concept can be a useful tool for interpreting our reality in a way that corresponds to what our essence requires for it to unfold at a given time. Contact with the dead equates to distancing oneself from the source of life and infinity, the source of all potential. The red heifer ritual shortens that distance. The process is done by slaughtering and then reducing the cow to ashes through burning. The ashes obtained, mixed with living water, are essential for the cleansing process. The principle behind the rite could be seen as a way to decontaminate or update our consciousness, the way we perceive reality. This implies that having an outdated consciousness is akin to death or disconnection from the source of life and eternity. The more outdated that consciousness is, the farther we are from revealing our essence. There is, however, an opposite force pulling us back to the source of infinity, and it does that by setting things up in a way that will move us to update our manner of interpreting reality. That pulling force is of messianic origin, so it makes sense that the red heifer plays a role in redemption. Applied to the purifying of our consciousness, then, the red heifer points to the process of asking ourselves questions about what we perceive and why we perceive it the way we do. It requires detaching ourselves, even for a brief moment, from that mentality and then scrutinizing it as a mere observer. At certain points in our everyday life, we encounter opportunities for this to happen, and they could come in the form of a thing, creature, idea, a moment, or an experience, something that easily draws you, and when you engage in it, you tend to forget everything else and feel most alive by it. For some people, it might be building things. For others, it's writing poetry, making music, or teaching. Some are into language, science, or plumbing the layers of philosophy, and the list goes on and on. On the other hand, it could come in a package so revolting we are likely to fear and avoid it at all costs. It refers to things we tend to quickly label as painful and unpleasant, dark, evil, and irredeemable, but they may also be concealing parts of truth we don't have the ability to comprehend yet. Hence, without the required update or change in our way of looking at it, we could end up missing it or not being able to correctly respond to it. The interesting thing is, whether we find it a pleasure or pain, it always manages to find its way back to us until we finally recognize it and face it with a proper response, the response that will elevate it. Jewish sages say that we are naturally drawn to those things, or they are naturally drawn to us, because they contain fragments of our essence. The response or action we take when we encounter these fragments will either reveal our potential or further conceal it. This action parallels the cleansing part of the rite. The response called for is one that consists in preparing a vessel or form, whether in thought, speech, or action, that perfectly matches the qualities of the unpacked essence in every way. The Torah called it mitzvah or command, which I'll be talking about in the video on Binah, the quality of understanding. Only then, with that matching vessel, can it be safely elevated and then absorbed and reunited with the essence that is inside us. The Red Heifer process makes it possible for us to burn off aspects and layers of our system of thinking that are unnecessary, so that only the ashes, that is, components compatible with a new, essential upgrade to our consciousness, remain. It acts as a powerful filter for distinguishing between what is good and what is not good for our essence. It gives us the ability to sense the light hiding behind a form that seems mundane, uninteresting, or perhaps repulsive to us. It even sweetens the enmity between opposites, allowing us to integrate entirely different things to a perfect fit for various circumstances. The tricky part is that the essence within us requires a certain configuration of consciousness capable of connecting to the essence within a fragment brought to our attention, which means we have to be well trained in recognizing whatever that configuration is. Achieving that precise alignment is impossible without preparing our mind with the tools that make it sufficiently fluid and receptive to each potential instance of reunification and integration with the fragments coming our way. To sum up, the purifying properties of the Red Heifer method facilitates our entrance to a state of nothingness, where we can fully subject our current mentality to scrutiny. We can then get our psyche cleaned up of anything that prevents us from acquiring better consciousness of reality that presents itself through fragments of our essence embedded in opportunities that we meet. When we look at the things and situations in our lives through the red heifer lens, we can not only see how everything has been carefully orchestrated to improve our consciousness in the most efficient way at a given moment, but also choose the course of action that would best reveal, clothe, and then integrate the fragments back into us. Just as the red heifer is burned until only its ashes remain, so we remove all elements masking the truth that we need to see about something, so that only the pure essence within is left. Identifying that essence, or at least a portion of that essence, sets the stage for the unfolding of our potential, through which God becomes a trace more known to the world. And what's more, it puts us in the position to gather more of those traces.